Hey guys, it's Shelbi. Today, I'm gonna be so honest with you. I could not find the mental capacity to do much today other than film a Q&A for you. So I asked over on Instagram, what questions do you have, personal, related to sustainability, whatever it is, and today I'm going to be answering those questions. So if you don't already follow me on the gram, you should do that. Honestly, tell me I'm not the only person who's feeling this like major just like dip in my mood and like my energy. Been working on my health, doing real good there. But honestly, like my mental is just like not in it. I don't have a lot of motivation. I'm kind of sad on top of everything going on in the world. Obviously, I just went through a literal traumatizing event, losing power for multiple days in weather that I've never experienced before. And just like being unable to even like use my phone because the cell service was down. It was just a weird all around experience. Not so great on my mental health, which we'll talk a little bit about that. I got a lot of questions about after the storm, all that sort of thing. So let's just get into it. One of the most common questions I got, and I was like,
why do people want to know this? I don't know.
But so many of you want to know, so I figured I'd answer it first, is what is my favorite house plant if I had to pick? And I know which one it is. It's sitting right there. I'll get some B-roll to roll over the footage for you right here. Actually, should I not be lazy and just go grab it? Okay, I'll go grab it. This is her. She is, I believe, a Calathea warzekii.
Calathea warzekii.
The more common name for it is a jungle velvet, but I just love plants that have not glossy leaves, the ones that are more velvety, which this one is, and I love the dark green, not so like bright lime green. These are the hardest plants to keep alive for me. I don't know why, but they're also my favorites. What a curse. So we'll put her back. How's the compost been working? I've been wanting to buy it for so long. Well, honestly, it's really, really easy to use, like super simple to just walk out there and add stuff to the compost bin, spin it, and you're done. I'm very wary about putting anything in there that's not a whole food, right? So I don't put a lot of cardboard in there. I don't put any like compostable plastics in there because the way it works is there's two different sides to the tumbler. You're supposed to fill one up and let that one turn into compost while adding to the other one. But it just seems like it's never getting full. It's crazy because I still do put stuff out in our regular curbside compost. I'm just super paranoid about getting weird pests and stuff in the backyard, so I only add things that are, like I said, whole foods. So I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. It's just breaking down a lot faster than I expected it to, and we keep adding stuff so that you're not just getting like pure compost out of it with no extra like food scraps, if that makes sense. But I think it's working wonderfully. It's a great option for us to keep a compost like small and contained, easy to manage. It's just been really, really great. I love it. I got it secondhand, but I'll link it below if you really decide you want one. And also you've checked secondhand first and can't find one.
Just saying.
I also bought one a few years ago in our old apartment at Habitat for Humanity. Check there. But yeah, I've been really liking the compost tumbler we have. What is your favorite eco-friendly swap you've ever made? And when I saw this question, I was like, I don't know if that's really interesting, and maybe it's not interesting, but I guess I'll tell you since you asked. My favorite zero waste swap, I guess I would say, or the one I get the most use out of, I find to be very handy, I would recommend to everyone, I never stop talking about, are probably my collapsible Chico bags. My friend Bailey actually gifted them to me years ago, and I still use them to this day now, and they're always in my backpack. I've kept up with them for years, so I think that kind of speaks to my favorite, what's my favorite, something I've just been using for so long and what I get the most use out of. So I'm always recommending those. I'll leave them linked below. Just off the top of my head also, I feel like when Native went plastic free, that was a really big deal to me. It was one area of my life that I found very hard to get rid of plastic because I didn't want to also stink. So when Native went plastic free, that was a really big deal to me. And those are the two things that came to mind when you asked this question, but I'll leave that link below as well. I get this question a lot. I've actually covered it in a Q&A previously, so I'll link it up here if you want to go watch that. But basically, the reason we don't have solar is because it doesn't make financial sense. It's very simple. Madison and I do not plan to live in this home for more than a year from now, 2 at the most. At least that's our plan. It might turn out that that doesn't happen, and then we'll reevaluate. But right now, our plan is to move back to Austin in the next year or 2. And so investing tens of thousands of dollars into putting solar on a house where we will never see the financial returns of that investment is not, it doesn't make sense. There are several programs where you can pay to have your energy specifically from renewables, which we do. It's only like $10 a month to ensure that the energy we're getting is supporting renewables. So we don't just like thrive off of natural gas in this house and think like,
It's fine.
So specifically, I can give you an example because our literal next door neighbor has a solar system in her house. When the power went out, she had no power either. And so I went and asked her, or Madison went and asked her, I should say, why is it that when the power went out, you had to leave, because shouldn't you have had power from solar? And the answer to that is she did not. So basically what she generates goes to the grid, and then she has like a deal with our energy provider where she pays like, I think like $7 a month or something, and she doesn't have an electricity bill, but all the solar she's generating goes to the grid. She has no storage. $25,000 for no storage in her home. To break even on that investment would take years, like a decade. I can't justify spending that much money on solar. It's very simple. So that's the answer. Moving on. Speaking of energy and solar and power and all those sort of things, let's move on to some questions about the winter storms. Basically, our grid is not set up to handle the demand that we received when we were experiencing record low temperatures all across the South. Texas' energy grid is incredibly deregulated, and so my friends who work in energy efficiency, Madison, my friends who work in oil and gas, and also when I worked for the state, all have had complaints about the lack of regulation around our equipment and how that really makes it difficult for things to stay up to date and not have faulty equipment. So that's basically what happened here in Texas. Our grid couldn't handle the demand because we have a lot of deregulation here. Things just aren't up to standard like they are across other parts of the country. And so Texans who have never experienced temperatures like we lived through, our homes are not built to sustain ourselves in that weather. I also am so sick of hearing people make fun of Texans for going through this. Like, people literally died. It's not something to make fun of. It's not funny. Anyway, moving on to your questions. First question, did the winter storm damage your property? So as far as we know right now, it did not. We don't have any pipes that burst, thank goodness. We started dripping our pipes the first night it was freezing. And we also wrapped them. So we didn't have any pipes bust that we're aware of. If there's a small leak somewhere, we'll find it eventually, but right now we don't have any. My parents somehow didn't have anything bust because they have a well, so with no electricity you can't run the well. And luckily, I think as far as we know, none of their pipes bust either. So thank goodness for that. I'm really grateful that nothing happened here. And also with my family, that my aunt is without water still because of her pipes busting. But obviously she lives, well, you might not know this, she lives pretty close to my mom. So they're doing like this tag team thing and they're okay. As far as we're aware, no damage to the property, just a few lost plants outside, which sucks, but still really, really fortunate. Are you planning on getting/adding to an emergency kit since after the winter storm? Yes, absolutely we are. Actually, I ordered a couple things. I ordered a life straw because we started on a boil water notice and that kind of sucks. So I thought I'd get some sort of filter. There's like a pump filter you can get for 5-gallon water jugs. I ordered some solar lanterns because I was burning like 30 candles in the house and it still was dark. So I ordered a couple things. Unfortunately, the place I ordered them from, I accidentally shipped them to my parents' house, so they're not here right now. But I am gonna add a few things to our kit, not that are winter specific. I've lived in Texas my whole life and I've never ever experienced something like this. I'm not going to build and buy a bunch of stuff that's meant for cold weather when this is not a thing here. I got a solar generator, I'm going to do that, but that's more so for if we ever lose power long term again, which living in Texas, we do experience hurricanes and stuff like that. So I think it makes sense to be prepared for a power outage. I'm not gonna go and buy a bunch of stuff specifically for winter weather. Not right now, nothing cold specific. Was your garden okay during the snowstorm / were the plants affected by power outages? So I put some plants on my porch when this happened because I have a heater out there for my outdoor cats, and I thought that they would be okay, but obviously then we lost power. So we lost a few plants outside, some cactuses that my sister has had for like years. My garden specifically I think is okay, except maybe the tomatoes. The tomatoes do look like they're dying, which makes me really sad because I was super excited about it. If you don't follow me on Instagram, like I said, you need to. I'll link my story highlight below so that you can see how we were living and like what it was like. But we basically blocked off the upstairs with blankets and sheets, and so it got really really cold up there compared to down here with the fireplace. And I lost a couple pothos plants up there because it did get to freezing upstairs. I huddled all my plants together downstairs where we were, where the fire was, and it looks like so far, unless something happens in the next couple days, I think we made it. I think they're all okay. Plants come in black plastic, which is hard to recycle. How do you recycle / reuse them? My stance on the way that living sustainably should work for me personally is that it should be sustainable, something that you can sustain in the long term. If you take away every bit of happiness, things that bring you joy, you're probably not going to sustain this lifestyle long term. That's my personal philosophy. I think there are literally thousands of ways you can live more sustainably, you can advocate for the environment before you give up something that means a lot to you. And plants are one of those things for me. So regardless of the fact that they come in plastic pots, I still buy them and I love them, and you know, whatever. I do still do my best to reuse them. I reuse them by taking propagations, I'll root them in water, I'll plant them in the pots. I also reuse them to start seeds in my backyard, which we're doing right now, very exciting. And actually Home Depot also has a specific plant pot recycling system. So you can take your pots there and actually have them recycled. You don't have to worry about the dark plastic not being recycled in your curbside, because this person is right. They are really difficult to recycle curbside because of the facilities that we use. And shifting back from the plants back to the winter storm for one more question, this person says, after the Texas winter storm, do you still want to live in New Jersey? Which is interesting because I don't think I've ever been to New Jersey. I definitely haven't said I want to live there. I really, really like Vermont, and I might have said New Hampshire, so maybe she's getting confused with that. I don't think any of us as Texans, the problem was, oh, it's cold and we're not used to this. Like, it was so much more than that. It was people literally freezing to death in their homes because our homes are not set up for that. It was people literally dying, like I said, in 100-car pileups because our roads aren't set up for that. We don't have plows, we don't have salt, we don't have any of the things that communities who are used to that weather have. So that doesn't deter me from not wanting to ever live somewhere where there is an actual winter. I would love to live somewhere where there are 4 seasons. So yeah, that's my answer to that. Someone said, mini review of okibashi sandals. I'm thinking of getting them. I think that they are something that will probably be included in my next sustainable swaps I use every day. If you guys don't know, Okibashi is a sandal brand that I use. I have a video where I talk more about their sustainability practices. I'll link it right here, but they're really, really good. They are $20, which is kind of steep for a sandal, but they're very high quality. They are sustainably made and they do have a closed loop system. So absolutely highly recommend them to anybody who's looking for a good pair of sandals. All right, I got quite a few questions based around this like similar sentiment, so I'll speak to it a little bit. Do you see yourself doing more with environmental science besides YouTube / social media? Or I got questions that were like, if YouTube wasn't a job, what would you be doing? What do you see yourself doing after social media, or if it doesn't work out? It's a little bit offensive to me, I'm not gonna lie. When I see questions like that, I get a little bit frustrated because I put a lot of work into this job, and so when people are like
when your little YouTube thing is done, like what are you gonna do?
I have my degree from Texas A&M, Bachelor's of Science. While I was there, I worked for the Office of Sustainability at the University of Texas A&M. After that, I did an AmeriCorps service term in California. Then I moved back to Texas and I started working for the state. I worked for the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. I was an enforcement coordinator for the Air Pollution Division. When I left my job to do YouTube full time, it was because I was not suited to work in government. I mean, I just don't think that is where I'm best suited for. And so what's important is that there is someone tackling the issues that our generation and generations of the future face because of climate change. So my skills are really, really, really good with this job. I'm good at making YouTube videos. I'm good at communicating ideas that are hard to be communicated. So it kind of bothers me when people ask me, is there anything else you want to do, or what else are you gonna do? This is taking up so much of my time and my energy, and it's something I'm very passionate about. My focus is on this. It's not anywhere else right now. But if this didn't work out, yes, I absolutely would go back, I would get my PhD, I would become a professor. At least that's my goal, that's what I dream about if I had to give this up. It feels very much like this is a place where I'm meant to be. I hope that answers your question. I get this question every time I do Q&As, and I think it's just an easy go-to, so I'll answer it. Do you still buy some things with plastic? I'm specifically wondering for food. The answer is absolutely, 100%. I am not zero waste. There are areas in my life where I am, right? Of course, like my self-care routine, like all my hygiene products, my makeup routine is pretty much zero waste. But when it comes to food, am I always able to buy everything without packaging? Absolutely not. I think that just most people are living that way, especially amidst pandemic times. Half of our bulk bins at the place that even has them now are closed. So I can't even get the things that I used to be able to get to. Obviously, then that results in me buying it in packaging. I have this list, right? I have this list of brands I want to sit down and write to and email to and all those sort of things. Sometimes I call people. If you saw a vlog recently that I did, I'll link it up here, where I called some places to compliment them on their packaging and emailed some places to tell them to do better. I think that is something that you can still do when you don't have control over buying everything package free. I just always want to say, I am not completely zero waste. I don't live in a society that allows that. So yeah, I hope that helps. Which basically just is like my answer to this question. I got a lot of questions like this too. Yes, I buy meat alternatives in plastic and I don't feel bad about it. All right, one more question, and then you need to go follow me on Instagram so that we can talk more, so that you can ask more questions. Also, just really cool that you guys value my opinion or like my expertise, I guess. I mean, I have a formal degree in this stuff, but I also just spend a lot of time learning, and I really like to be able to be the guinea pig to do the work for you. That's what I'm here for. So thank you for asking your questions. Like I said, go follow me so we can do more. Is it more sustainable to buy secondhand or buy an eco-friendly brand firsthand? It's not really my opinion. I'm pretty sure this is a fact. Just based on resource use, secondhand is always the most sustainable option. That's kind of like my philosophy of eco-minimalism, is to buy as little new as you can. So you're having the smallest resource footprint as you can, because if something is already destined for the landfill, you buying it is not creating a demand for more resources to be used to continue making that product. I also probably just really wouldn't buy clothing or really much at all firsthand if I didn't have this channel. I do get questions a lot about reviewing brands because I understand all of our lifestyles are different, and so people want to be able to support sustainable brands when they need to purchase something. So I always think that secondhand is the most sustainable option. I'll stand by that until, forever. That's my opinion. That's how I live my life. That's the main driving force behind my love for sustainability. And the thing that I think will have the biggest environmental impact is if we stop shopping so much. I think it's just been my experience going from being a hyper consumer to really realizing how many resources go into every single thing we buy. So that's kind of my mission here. It's what I'm here for. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, go follow me on Instagram. It's just Shelbizleee, same as it is here. I'll leave it linked below. And remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye, guys.